I'll take you for a ride on the devil's ship. I'll take you for a ride where you sink or swim. Now come with me and let this story begin.
Alex, welcome back from Russia.
Thank you, Pantelis.
See how I start that shit serious? I'm testing the waters here. I don't know what you Soviet fucks are up to.
Well, I'm a serious kind of guy, regardless where I'm from. You know,
you're not a kidder.
Well,
people can't see it on camera. We're gonna show a picture later so they can see the difference of how much taller you are than either me or Poseidon.
we're going to take a picture together.
Yeah, you were part of that USSR program where you guys
100%.
were cheating. You were cheating because you were giving
100%.
horse tranquilizers and shit.
100%.
Steroids.
Or Chernobyl.
Yeah, maybe. You're a product of Chernobyl. You're a giant, Alex. You're a good dude. I've known you for a while. You're into the wrestling. You're into the comedy. You're into all that stuff. However, you're here for a very important reason.
Yes.
You just came back from Russia.
Yes.
A no-go zone as far as what the media is telling me. I want to know, what is the media there saying about this war? What's happened?
It's like more no-go-out zone at this point.
What's going on there?
Well, let me start from the beginning. I got there to visit my parents, and
It's a good excuse, yeah.
yeah, well,
I'm
that's what
buying
I
it.
tell
I'll
them.
buy it.
That's what I tell them at the border anyway. I had some entertainment interest there as well, but in February, when everything went down, the first thing that British and Europe did is ban Russian airlines to fly over, and I had a ticket to fly back on February 26th. So I got sanctioned. A few weeks later, they sanctioned all the credit cards and Visa cards and everything else. So I physically get stuck in there. So
They made you broke.
they made me broke. Yeah. So I had to get a job. I had to become Poseidon and trying to score some points on the corner and make my way back. So it took a few
Poseidon's
months.
a hustler.
Well, he is, but Poseidon, I feel your pain because it took me a few months to get where you're at now. And yeah, it was an interesting ordeal because I got to observe, because I keep track of things on all ends of the world. I instantly got a VPN because things stopped working. So if you want to use your bank accounts or access to Western
You
media
need to
sites,
be somewhere else, IP-wise.
Yeah, and the same thing for the Russian
Wow.
websites. So if you want to use it, so you need to have two kinds of VPN type of thing to be able to function.
This is so stupid.
Well, it is what it is, and we can get into political aspect of that, what I feel that is. But you're right, in terms of information, it's definitely, it's hard to believe what's shown to you on TV on the other side.
Is it completely different?
100%. 100%. And I'll tell you more. You like conspiracy theories?
Love them.
I don't want to call them conspiracy theories because everything I'm going to tell you is from my experience. So it's not a conspiracy. That's what I've experienced. So it's a fact that I'll portray. You can believe me or not. It's your choice.
Yeah.
On the way to Russia, I flew Air Canada into Europe, some German city. I don't even remember which one, Frankfurt or something. And I had to catch another plane into Moscow. There was already Canadian military flying. They fly on the civilian flights into Europe, into the Baltic states, getting ready for the conflict. So it's not something that happened spontaneous, Russian built the masses there. No, they knew that something was brewing way before it actually happened.
So they knew because the Russians were bad at keeping secrets?
If we play the game Russian versus the world, then we fall into the same trap, divide and conquer.
Oh, I'm just saying, how did they know? Were they trying to provoke the Russians, or were they okay, the Russians are moving?
I'm going to be controversial. I don't think there's a difference. I think there's it's all part of the same game. It's oh, Putin's bad. No, the Americans are bad.
Oh, they're all bad.
So the idea is, they play is a really simple fact. If you think let's face it. If you want to talk in conventional terms, it's World War III.
Yeah,
because
everyone's at war right now, whether it's economic or physical. We're all fighting.
Everybody's fighting. So, but the idea is, if Russia truly in the war for the survival, because that's what the Russian statement is, Russia doesn't see a world without Russia. So it's basically saying either let's all get along,
or I'm going to kill everyone,
or we kill everyone.
Isn't that a scary thing to tell people?
Well, it is, but it's also lots of people knew that I was in Moscow at the time, and all of them called me and said,
"You got to go home.
You got to go home. What are you doing? Isn't it?" And to be fair, in Moscow, you don't feel any of the war sentiment. Like I'm sure if I was in Kiev or anywhere in Ukrainian area where there's bombing actively going on, then I would feel threatened and scared.
But how do you feel, just side note, about the Ukrainians? Because before the war, when I would speak to Ukrainians or Russians, this animosity, I guess, had kind of died down. They were, even though there was, I think, Crimea a little while ago, it was still kind of, we share a history, we're trying to be civil. And then now it's like it's turned the other way. It's like, fuck these people. No, fuck those people. And
well, because it's a hot subject. It's a hot potato that you see on TV all day long. It's whether you choose to look at Telegram or YouTube or legacy media, it's all propaganda sources, regardless of which side.
They're just trying to fight.
So it's really hot, right? So like they.
But how do the regular people feel?
Do
Russians want war?
No, nobody wants war.
That's
so lots. Again, there's people and there's people. Doesn't matter where you are in which part of the world. There's always going to be a person, a bad apple, so to speak, right? So there's it's not like the whole Russia rises up. It's like, let's go kill Ukraine. It's not like the whole Ukraine gets up and it's like, no, we hate all Russians.
Yeah.
But there's elements that got into the game for whatever reason. And, the sad part is you see kids being brainwashed on both sides as well. But I have Ukrainian friends. I even have my acting coaches from Ukraine. I was just in New Zealand last year filming on. I can pitch that, right? I can say that.
Do whatever you want. Yeah.
I was working on Lord of the Rings, the series. I can't really talk about that because it's still on the NDA. But
yeah, I'm gonna throw just a bet out there that it's gonna be a terrible series.
I can't even comment. I just thought about it for I can't even comment. I can't even comment.
And I want it to be good, but I have suspicions that it's gonna be shit. That's it. Let's keep talking about the Russians and the Ukrainians. I'm not going to get you fired now. Yeah.
By the way, that's what the Ukrainians, that's the derogatory term for Russians. They call them orcs.
Orcs? Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. So that's what?
If we start using those terms, I refer to like hideous people as goblins.
Yeah, well, that's that.
I like that.
But it's the dehumanization, right? So like they're trying to dehumanize. So like your enemy isn't a human. Like if you look at the old Soviet era type of World War II posters.
Oh yeah, remember the Jewish posters of the Germans who put on? They're crazy.
Same idea. Dehumanizes the person. So this is kind of falls along the side. But like I have lots of Ukrainian friends. Actually, lots of my Ukrainian friends from Ukraine happen to come to Moscow and Russia to escape the war. So like, and obviously, nobody wants death. Nobody wants this. Yeah. But the thing is, it's what the political focus is on the divide. They're trying to, not to say Ukrainian people are bad. No, it's like Ukrainian people are good, but they're being used by the West to do the bidding of the West. That's the Russian message.
Okay, but here's my question. Let's say that's the Russian message. I believe that is the Russian message. But the people that are suffering, the people that are getting killed are not the Westerners. There's going to be the Ukrainian people. So they're the ones that are eating it.
Of course, and Russians don't want that because now the Russian soldiers are dying too. And there's no winners in the conflict, regardless on which the people are the ones who are suffering. Here's the fact that, okay, so if Russia is truly at war, and this is like me not being against Russia, but just a question. Why is Russia, it's a World War III thing, like you said, it's economic, it's sanctions and all this stuff. Why is Russia still, and Russia basically straight up saying the whole West is our enemy. Yeah. Because you're supplying the weapons, you're supplying the intelligence, the mercenaries are there, blah, blah, blah. NATO on the borders. But why is the Russia then selling energy to the enemy?
To the Europeans. I thought the same thing. I brought that up.
So if at any point you're going to focus and say, oh, it's the Russians' fault, it's the Westerners' fault. No, like the way I see it is like if it was truly a genuine war, an honest war, which is horrible to describe war, right? Why would you supply... Like
the people that are threatening you, why would you supply them with
energy
to threaten you?
To threaten you.
Yeah.
Makes no sense, right? So I guess it's the way I see it, again, into conspiracy, we just went through 2 years of COVID, right? What did COVID do? COVID destroyed the disseminated economy everywhere in the world, regardless how you look at it. It disseminated. what else it did? You know, it raised prices of gas in Quebec. It's now $2 a liter, which is expensive. So middle class is suffering because, you know, produce is up, your cost of living is up. Most people still make the same amount of money.
Yeah.
Your salary,
But everything else is going up.
So the middle class is going down. COVID is over for whatever reason, right? Most places like Canada is the last one to catch up for whatever reason. But I just traveled through Europe. There's no more masks. There's no more restrictions. Nothing. I just spent the week in London. Yeah. Nothing. Not even a hint of COVID. And I don't mean COVID like a disease, but a COVID in terms of
reactions of people.
But for some reason, it feels like it didn't finish to complete the job, right? So now,
not enough people died.
Let's hit him with something else. Let's continue to destroy the economy, because the first thing they did, we killing people. We killed people throughout the ages, but let's continue to kill people. But let's also continue to shift the wealth, right? So the middle class continues to die out, because here's the interesting thing. I haven't been in Russia I've been away. Like, my family immigrated to Canada in 95. I was 16 years old. I'm 43 now. I will be 43 in a month. And I've been to Russia, man, a handful of times, maybe for 1 week at a time, max, maybe 4 or 5 times. In the beginning, when I played basketball for Russian national team, I came maybe 2 or 3 times. And then I came to visit my family twice since then, quite literally. That was my 3rd time. And I came to visit maybe for 4 or 5 weeks, and I would change the ticket every time, because I couldn't believe how much the country changed and how much better it is from my perception and understanding what I thought it would be.
But when you came, it was so much. When you came to Canada, you were so close to the Iron Curtain falling. It was still at that precipice.
It was still like Moscow in the 90s is basically South Philadelphia right now. But but a bad example, maybe South Chicago. Bad example, but it was bad. It was lawless. It was just Wild Wild West. And but I'm talking about in terms of quality of living. There's negative things that I noticed in Moscow, but in terms of overall wealth that you experience right away the moment you step foot into Moscow. I haven't been in the rest of the country much. I just, kind of a little bit outside. So I cannot judge. Obviously, you cannot judge the rest of North America by visiting Toronto or New York or LA. You cannot do that.
We have Laval also.
We have Laval also. But it was interesting to see that Russian people are wealthy, and I would say per capita Moscow people are wealthier than most of the people I experienced in recent years in terms of their possession, like physically. Most people own
car.
Like I'm talking about substantial ownership, like real estate, house, apartment, triple apartment, rental properties, outright own it, not even mortgage. I'm talking about outright own it, more than one property. And everybody has a car. Everybody has a really nice job. All kids have high educations. Everybody travels outside for leisure, vacations, and investments across the world.
That's a drastic difference from the Russia that the 90s left.
Exactly, but even quality of life itself, in terms of you have maybe 24-hour dépanneur running around the corner. There's a huge supermarket that's literally on the corner. The same thing. Yeah. Everything accessible anytime. Same deliveries. I've seen robots delivering food on the streets to your houses. This future's already there. There's also things like
it's like a mix of the US, Japan, and China.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, because there was the facial recognition technology is there too already.
I hate that stuff.
I hate that stuff too, but it scares you, because you can walk into the metro without paying, because it just scans your face. You can walk into the grocery store, it just scans your face, and you walk out with your.
It'll charge you.
It's crazy.
I have one. This brings up a question that I've had for a while. I guess I could ask you, because it's so advanced. They've worked so hard. Putin reshaped Russia. Why risk it all? Why risk the safety now with this? That's what I don't get.
Well, it's going back to the same thing. Is Putin really is it part of the same issue? Like, is it, like the new topic is WF here in Canada. Like most of the government here.
The World Economic Forum.
World Economic
Here
Forum.
they're bought and paid for. I know that.
Exactly. So apparently Putin was a member of that back in the 90s or 2000s, etc. I don't know exactly. But
so you think he's influenced?
Well, the idea is like Putin maybe also just upon the game in terms of destroying the middle class and shifting the wealth into the upper echelons and making lower in everybody's, because middle class is the one that can compete with upper echelons.
Yeah.
It's not the poor people at the bottom.
But if you get rid of the middle class, you're all poor.
There's
two classes.
So there's two classes.
Peasants and the elites.
And the elite. So it's going back to the same thing. The thing is, like, Russian people went through that during Soviet Union. So they recognize that. That's really fresh. That's really fresh to them.
Is it frightening to them now when they see the writing on the wall?
Yes and no, because like it's been 30 years, like the older people already either don't have energy to fight it or they died quite literally in the new generation. So, but there's still generations of people like myself who grew up during Soviet Union. And like, I still remember certain things from educational system, for example. Like I remember good things. I remember good things about Soviet Union. We can talk about that. But the negative things, in terms of, I can see like a lot of stuff that, Russia escaped when the Soviet Union fell apart. I see a lot of stuff now happening in the Western world, Canada specifically.
Like?
Authoritarianism. Like, we tell you what to think, we'll tell you what to eat, we'll tell you what to do, how you're going to work. Like basically your agency, your freedom of choice is taken away. You have to toe the party line, regardless what the party line is, or you're the enemy. That's what I see happening in the Western world right now. It's not just in Canada; it's in
the US,
in the UK, in some European countries as well.
I've noticed it too. I don't have the reference. I didn't live through Soviet eras. I didn't. I grew up. I was born in Montreal, so my reference is just the United States of America and Quebec. And I feel, and I know that it's a completely different place right now in terms of freedom. In terms of freedom, people used to be very much closer to that American ideology of live and let live. And not anymore. Now it's do as I say, and you're the enemy because you think different. And it's changed the last 3 years. And it's palpable. I could find videos of how we used to speak 5-10 years ago, and now, and you see that everyone's on edge. They're like, what if I say this and this guy's against that? Then he's gonna make me the enemy. When debates used to be just part of everyday life, we could disagree and then continue. Go have a
what's worse is you're not just enemy. Okay. We may disagree with each other. We may not like each other. We not speak with each other. Like, I don't like Pantelis views.
Me and him get into actual fights, like we argue this and that, and then we'll go eat and hang out and make fun of people. And it's, it ends there. We have disagreements. We don't agree on it.
Repercussion now, if they can, what are they called? Doxing, right? They can find
that's
you
what
on
I'm saying.
social
Now it's
media.
crazy.
You can lose your job. You can lose look what happened in Ottawa this winter. That's how they attack people. They froze their bank accounts.
Another insanity. I'm still not over that. I'm not going to forget that the government did that, and then that people voted, that Liberal Party members, even from Montreal, voted to give the government that much power. And then 2 days later, the government's like, all right, this is too much. We don't need it. We'll peel it back, but you guys voted for it, so it's cool. I'm never going to forget all the people that voted against democracy, all those politicians. I still have the list. Remember the list that I had made of all of them that voted for that? These people are never getting my vote.
Well, that's one of the things that are reminiscent of Soviet Union, right? Like as a kid, listen to this, as a kid growing up, we had this, like speaking of propaganda, and like we started a conversation with like how the people are, like how do people got in the mix? Why do people hate each other in the world in general? Specific example, Ukraine, Russia. Well, because they're taught to do so. If we are taught to, and I'm not trying to be hippie, but if we are taught to be loving towards each other, be kind and thoughtful, that's the message that we're going to project onto the society, onto the world. But we are actually brainwashed into hating each other.
Do the Russians view the Ukrainians as a threat under Zelensky?
No.
No, right?
Right. It's not like you walking on the street and like
the Ukrainians are coming.
Ukraine. No, what you see is.
So how do they justify sending more soldiers right now? That's why, because young Russian kids are dying, right? How do you justify that when it's not a real threat?
It's not a real threat. I don't see. That's why it's so hard to comment on this. I can't because anything to do with the military activity on the
It's
Russian
completely
side,
independent.
no, it's not so independent. It's secretive.
Ah, okay.
So
They
this
don't
one
really
thing,
divulge.
They don't then discuss it. They discuss a political message. They discuss economical implications. They discuss NATO. They discuss Western world. They discuss all that stuff, European Union. But they don't really tell you, okay, we're going to send this many troops there. We're going to do this. We're going to attack here. None of that is, it's being under lock because it's a military secret.
So the Russians can't say, oh, well, this is unjustifiable because as far as they know, might be.
Nobody really knows what's going on, really. Like, they give you the news, outbreak, this many killed, this many, we blow up that many things, we're doing this for that. But it's post-fact. Nothing happened. Nothing is told ahead of time. Like, we're going to do this or this is being done.
Yeah.
You already get the news after something already, and then people could react to what already have happened. Right? But the message is clear. Putin isn't going to stop till he completes his agenda, whatever that agenda is.
But we don't know what the agenda is.
Well, that's what I'm saying. On one end, the agenda is to stop the evil that's coming from the West.
It's not going to, you could take over all of Ukraine. That's not going to stop.
But why are you selling them gas then?
Yeah.
Like, how do you stop the evil? What they do in one of the strategies right now, they're trying to minimize the casualties on both sides. So Russians are aiming at infrastructure. So they're blowing up the oil depots and what are they called? The electric generator stations.
But who's that going to hurt apart from regular Ukrainians? That's what I don't get. How's that going to hurt Klaus Schwab or whatever?
Well, exactly. In strategic ways, it affects the infrastructure, right? So they cannot deliver the supplies and support to the front lines type of thing.
Yeah.
But again, you're right. The whole idea is this area is being rebuilt, destructed. And guess what's going to happen afterwards? It's going to be divided between interests. Western interest, Russian interest, and then somebody's going to go in there, rebuild the industries,
get paid to rebuild everything.
But also
like
somebody's going to own those industries.
Like Iraq.
It's the same story. So they're just shifting the subject, and now it's a hot subject. Like, let's focus on World War III, because as we now start to discover the things that happen with COVID weren't necessarily kosher. Like, we'll use example as UK, like no conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
When Boris Johnson told everybody you cannot do anything, you cannot visit your sick relatives, you cannot go see your friends. They had parties, literally every Friday, parties.
I heard.
So, and the moment he gets discovered, he removes all the restrictions and all this other stuff, and then other things.
So that already shows you that what they were telling you and what was actually happening was two different things, but they still made everyone fear, like they did here with the, I don't know if you heard what happened here with Legault. They had set up curfews. And the last curfew was completely unjustified, and it came at a weird time, and it affected everyone. So they asked him to release documents on why'd you do this, right? Since there's no science backing you. And I think the document came out last week, and it was all blacked out. So it's like, yeah, this is the reason why, but they're not disclosing because they don't have a valid reason. So everywhere, it's not just in the UK, everywhere they've been pulling a lot of shit because of COVID. Like they're doing a lot of illegal things that go against the charter, things that go against the Constitution in the States, in a lot of places when they're forcing people to not be able to go to work because they weren't. There's all kinds of laws that were broken. And we all went with it. The majority of people went with it.
And that's what I noticed here. So I just traveled from Moscow. I took you want me to tell you about that?
Of course.
So we jump in all over the place, but the subject is going back to like, we're allowed to do this. So I'll explain how I get to this point. So I couldn't fly. I mean, I could have flown because I was supposed to go to London to visit my friends and meet my wife, and had a beautiful, wonderful time. And before coming to Canada, I haven't seen my wife in a few months, so it was like a vacation kind of thing. And London is wonderful this time of the year. I recommend. Nowadays, with no COVID restrictions,
beautiful.
I had a good time. I had a good time. I'll tell you more about that trip. But when I traveled, I was like, well, I can fly to Turkey. That was an option. Or like Bahrain or Egypt, and then catch a flight back to London, which is kind of halfway across the world. And like I'm I'm 7 feet tall. The plane is not a happy place for me.
It's not for me. I can't imagine what you go through.
And I documented it. You shared the links. I haven't posted it yet because there's so much footage. I just got to sip through it. I'm going to edit it, and my friend Val's going to help me do this. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I'll share it. Send it over.
I'd love to come back for that another
sure.
time, and we'll discuss that, just that alone. But I was like, I'm not doing this. So I took a night train to Belarusia, to Minsk. I took a night train overnight, and then I took a bus straight to the Vilnius airport. So that's already 2 borders. And from Vilnius airport, they have those low-cost airlines that I could catch a Ryanair into London. Right? That's a whole different story. That's a thing. And you can see like different jurisdictions. Like in Russia, there's no restrictions. There's no mask. There's no QR codes. There's nothing. Right? No social distancing. There's when you get to Lithuania, they did ask, and Belarus also, when you cross the border on the train at night, they didn't even come in to check. I mean, but you do give them your passport number before you land the train, so they know who's on the train. So they may check you, but they didn't. Okay. In Lithuania, I went by bus, so you cross the Belarusian border again, and then you go cross-check Lithuanian border. They check your QR code for your injections.
Okay.
But no masks. And we went to the restaurant. I met a nice gentleman as a director, Dmitry Astrakhan. Like, he's a famous Russian actor. That he came out. He saw me. We were on the bus together. He happened to be the loudest guy. He was the loudest guy. And it's like, this guy's so obnoxious. He's so annoying. He comes up to me at the airport, start talking to me because I'm tall.
They notice you.
Well, as you know, like, I get to travel around the world and end up in some interesting, scenarios.
You'd look ridiculous in Japan.
And I meet interesting people and I have wonderful conversations, but usually against my will. It's not like really like...
You're not seeking them out. They're seeking you.
Yeah. But it's not a negative thing. You know how many... Like,
you learn so much.
I learned and I met so many... Like, I don't reject it. I know I have friends who like also tall, or... To them, it's like a bit, I'm so difficult. Like, I can't just go into public. I love it. I seek this now. Not that I seek attention, but you never know what you can walk into.
Yeah.
And comedy writes itself. Like, literally 99% of my jokes, if not 100% of my jokes that I do on stage, I got from my life experience. Like, literally, I tell stories of the things that happen, and people love it. To me, it's stupid. I hate my humor. Like, I hate my jokes. I really do.
Are you not happy with them?
No, it's not that I'm not. I'm actually happy with them, but meaning, like, I find this because it's my everyday life. Like, I don't find it interesting, but people love it because it's not their life.
Okay, so you want to... Okay,
so, like, to me, it was a long journey to overstep that. To overcome this, because, like, I started doing stand-up just a little bit behind Guido, right? Like, Guido brought me. That's who influenced me to go do stand-up.
Really?
Yeah.
That's not a good...
no, that's not good.
Not a good mentor?
Well, Joe Elias was the mentor.
Okay, there you go.
Okay.
All right,
Joe,
that's better.
He's like, Alex, let's go do Joe Elias's comedy club. I mean, the class. Remember the class he used to do?
Yeah.
And I used to write all those smart, clever political jokes and international jokes because, I'm an international man of mystery and all that. And he was like, it's funny, but it goes over people's heads because then you put yourself in the same category as 10 other comics. And it's like, your jokes are too smart. The people there having fun, they're drinking beer, but you're not...
You're talking about geopolitics.
Well, it doesn't matter. Like, whatever, yeah. Like, your jokes, because you're trying to be...
What's the deal with free trade?
Exactly. Exactly. and yeah, you see, you get it. But he's like, why don't you do a couple of tall jokes? And I'm like, that's so stupid. Why would I do tall jokes? Like, it's just dumb. And then I did a couple of tall jokes on stage and people just died. I didn't even go into a punchline. I just did a setup and people were rolling on the floor before I even got to a punchline. And I was like, okay, there's something there, right? So like now I start to like my jokes because like I start to have
fun with yourself.
I have fun with myself. I start to appreciate my life in a much different way. Like, I'm thankful to the comedy for that. Like, not that I disliked myself before, but I definitely was able to find this better rhythm in life in terms of like life interactions in general and welcoming life into my life from other sources,
Oh wait, but you're still young. Is there a chance you get drafted to the military in Russia?
Oh no, that's past that age.
Okay.
Well, if I was there, that's actually part of the conversation. Like when I was there, all my Russian friends says like, "Why are you still here? Leave." All my Canadian, American, New Zealand, friends, people from England would call me and say, "Why are you still there? Leave." But it felt good to stay there, and I'll tell you why. It wasn't for reasons like, "Oh, I'm in the world." First of all, my family there. I didn't really want to abandon my family. My wife and my kids were here. I felt safe for my family, but my mom, my dad, my other relatives are there. My mom's Canadian. I was kind of like, "Mom, are you going to come with me?" Right? She's like, "No, I don't feel unsafe." And it's sort of like, it's not the same. It's not the same, obviously, because like when the war in Iraq happened between U.S. and Iraq, the U.S. is so far away from the epicenter of the conflict. But I lived in U.S. at the time. Nobody called me and said, "What are you still doing in U.S.?"
Yeah. Well, now you guys, they share a border, the Russians and Ukrainians.
Yeah, so but it's not. There's no conflict on the Russian soil, so it kind of feels safe. But I'm a spiritual man, and I felt that a lot of people were afraid. A lot of my friends, and not a lot, but some friends ran. They went into like Turkey, Georgia. Because what you said, they were afraid that they're going to get drafted. And so fear, right, for right reasons, like it's not, they have proper excuses. And some people didn't have this ability, and they were confused and scared. Like, nobody wants war because, like you said, the borders are closed. Russians and Ukrainians, I'm brothers and sisters. No matter what anybody says right now, we all brothers and sisters. Let me tell you that I wasn't born. I was born in Soviet Union, and then I ended up in Russia, and then Canada, and then U.S., New Zealand, all that stuff. But I'm born on Earth. I'm of Earth. I drink water. I breathe air. I eat vegetables, fruits. Sometimes I kill animals, and I eat animal. Well, I don't physically kill them, but you know what I mean. But for some reason, when we were born, we're stamped with a birth certificate, a passport, a language, a culture, some kind of tradition, borders, and we have all those labels on us that somehow divide us from each other, right? And I've been lucky enough to live on the earth and experience many places, and I see that what unites us all, and you would think what would unite us all, right? Like love, kindness, peace, like, safety and security, well-being, abundance of health, wealth, like that's the things they want. But no, what unites us all is discrimination against tall people.
This is the greatest part of my day.
Exactly. So like everywhere I go, I bump my head. I cannot just buy a car. I have to choose a car that I can properly fit in.
I think you started the war.
Well, that's exactly it. There was another conspiracy that I want to address. I didn't go to Russia for that.
You went right on time, though.
I went right on time, yeah.
I remember you sent me a message. It was a video of Putin's motorcade.
Yes.
And shit was popping off, and I was like, what the fuck
It didn't happen. The motorcade I sent you was like in December.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, like I kind of met, Did
you meet Putin?
No. But well, if that motorcade
counts,
if that counts, yeah, I met Putin then.
Okay, because I would think Putin would meet an old athlete, a tall giant of a man. I would think it's something that Putin would like to do.
I'm not important.
He's
enough.
A photo op type dude.
I'm not important enough.
No,
not
he
yet.
Met Khabib.
Not yet. Yeah, he did, but I'm not important enough yet.
Can you explain the Chechens to me?
What specifically?
Well, the way we're told about Chechens is like they're the most hardcore Islamic psychopaths to ever walk the face of the earth. The way we're told is like ISIS is like, oh shit, not the Chechens, bro. That's how they're described here in the West. Is that the case?
Well, they're disciplined people, right? They practice their religion, which is Islam, right? So to them it's part of their everyday life. So it's a discipline. It's a spiritual discipline.
Forget the religion. I'm talking about the hardcore militaristic part.
Another part of that is the tradition. They grew up in where Chechnya located. It's this sort of like it's area of war conflict from ages ago. So it kind of like that's what I was talking about. When they're born, it's inbred into the blood, like they train to be strong men, to protect the land, to protect the families, to protect the country, or the village or the city, etc. So it's bred into them, and that's if it's done for peaceful purposes, it's not a bad thing, right? The man should be able to protect his family. And his village
I'm all
and
for that.
stuff.
But I saw a video when they were sending them into the Ukraine, and it looked fucking crazy.
Well, they part of the Russian Federation, Chechnya, right? So it's a Russian army. It's just from that region. It's like Canada has an army, and did you hear? I didn't see it. I just read an article today that the ex-Canadian military Quebecer, the sniper, just came back from Ukraine, and he's transcribing his experience.
What is he saying?
Oh, it's like atrocious. There was no. He didn't like it because there was no discipline, actually.
The Ukrainians were not disciplined?
Not so much discipline. There was no organization at all.
That's dangerous.
So it seems like it's basically, he was saying it's basically like a money. I don't know if he said it's a money laundering operation, but basically they had to go find their own fuel, the food. It wasn't supplied to them. They went to, at one point they went and wanted to steal some military supplies to start their own unit, and then.
Oh, that's weird.
At the end of the day, everybody, 600 or 500 people from the unit ran back to wherever they came from. So it's even mercenaries don't want to stay there. And mercenaries apparently get paid.
Very well.
Very well, yeah. So,
and the mercenaries come from all over, I hear.
All over, yeah. Like I said, from Quebec, there's few people that even went from Quebec.
Are we allowed legally to do that? I'm allowed to just go fight in a foreign army for a bit as a mercenary?
If your government allows you to, yes.
That's fucking weird. I think that's a little strange.
Well, that's the whole point. I don't really know any of those people, but
because I can't commit a murder here, I'm pretty sure they frown upon that.
But you can go across the border and kill somebody if you want.
That's insane.
Yeah. That doesn't make any sense to me. But that's the whole point. Why do we? By the way, our civilization is war driven, regardless.
Yeah.
Economy, science, it's all war driven, right? We're kind of backwards in that sense. If you notice, all of our technology comes from the war times.
Yeah. I remember that. I remember the technology of the American military is always minimum 10 to 15 years ahead of whatever fun stuff you're using as a consumer. So someone was trying to explain to me 10, 15 years ago, they go, what are you using now? And it was the time when you're just starting to see virtual reality and video games. Whatever you see now, you think that's cool? They're at least 15 years ahead. So if you think it's fun touching a screen right now, they've been touching screens, little things like that, the internet, the way it works, high speeds. So that's interesting to think of. How I just found out about the railgun, how railguns are supposed to work. That's insane.
The electromagnetic.
Yeah, the electromagnetic and the smaller versions and all. It's completely insane.
I would say some people say technology is maybe 50 to 100 years ahead.
Military-wise, than what we're going to get? That's even crazier. It is exponential, so you do have a point. Because the further we go along, the wider the gap is going to get.
But it's even beyond that. It's this military that we see on TV, right? And that technology is already 10 steps ahead.
Yeah. But what about the stuff we don't see?
What about the stuff we don't see? And that's what I'm saying. This war doesn't make any sense.
So have you, from the Russian side, is there talks right now of, all right, guys, don't worry, soon this will be over, or it's supposed to be ongoing?
It wasn't supposed to even last. I don't. That's the whole point. They didn't say how long it's supposed to last. They're not saying how long it's going to go, but they're saying something's going to get achieved. By the way, Poseidon here is probably going to get canceled soon, because Poseidon is the name of the Russian weapon that they just threatened UK with. It's
they threatened the UK. I didn't hear this.
Well, because UK is was having some nuclear talk, and it was on the Russian media. I was traveling, I was reading a blog, and it was on the Russian media that one of the TV personalities was saying, well, we have this weapon called Poseidon.
There he is. I would have died of laughter reading that. We have a weapon called Poseidon?
Yeah, and I'm like, wow, let me hear more.
Yeah.
So Poseidon.
He's currently somewhere in North America.
Yeah. Poseidon, what do you know that I don't?
Yeah.
Well, Pantelis asking me all those questions about Russia and everything, but
I'm just trying to see how deep this goes.
Yeah. So the Poseidon is a weapon that it's it's unmanned underwater, so it's like a submarine type of a torpedo kind of thing, but it moves something like 200 kilometers an hour underwater, so it's unstoppable. It's even if you detect it, you won't be able to stop it, and the load that it can carry basically can sink UK. completely. Just that one weapon at all. Plus, like the Russians, they did the weapon that the rocket test, the new nuke delivery system, Sarmat. They can basically also destroy it with one rocket. Can destroy one UK, as you know, everything.
That's fucking scary. Just thinking about that.
Well, that's the point. Like when people ask me, like, why are you still there? It's kind of scary. In the war, it's like, well, if I'm going to be like, to answer your question, like when we're going back, like, well, you're on the border, the conflict there. Russians did say they're going to use nukes. Like they war in the world. Like if something's not kosher, if we get attacked on our territory, we're going to use nukes. More or less, they use that language, right?
Yeah, I remember.
So I'm like saying, well, if it comes to that, it doesn't matter where you are in the world. If it comes to that, maybe South Africa or New Zealand or somewhere in there, you may avoid the initial hit. Like, what is the fear? And that's probably one of the reasons why I stayed longer, because I realized if we're all going to go, it doesn't matter where you are. Canada, Russia, US, it's all going to be on the ground. It's going to be bad for everyone.
Do you think he's serious?
I don't even know what that means anymore. Like that same, like I don't look at the world leaders that we know as world leaders as leaders. I still think that there's some other greater power at play behind all this.
But even let's say there's a greater power at play. The greater power at play, would they risk themselves? That's what I don't get. Like if everything is destroyed, so are you.
Maybe they know something you don't and I don't. Well, you want to talk about magic, right? So let's think positive. Affirmations, right? You into affirmations and project positive into all this stuff. The same way works in reverse. And if you notice, all those conspiracy theorists and like Alex Joneses and all that stuff, they're really,
friend of the show, Alex Jones.
Yes, Alex Jones will love you. But we like there's a magic theory behind it that you project outwards. You'll tell the masses what you're about to do and let them catch on to it. Like similar thing happened with COVID, right? But like Georgia guided stones. You heard
the Georgia guided stones. I know about those.
So it's the same idea. They write the affirmation right on there, and we
have to limit the world population to control them better. Yeah,
and everybody's going to be so happy. Everybody's going to live in harmony with each other, and then more you repeat that, more you throw it out there,
more you believe it,
more you believe into it, and more, or you make it come into reality.
By the way, that's not true. So if anyone's even thinking about that, it's 100% not true. Anyone that's willing to kill a certain percentage of the population is not the type of person that then's going to turn around and be like, all right, now we live in harmony and we're all equal. It's never going to happen. If someone's willing to take a human life or millions of human lives, they're not the people who are going to be reasonable to deal with later. So we have to forget all that.
Oh,
like all they're risking because they know what they're doing, they do not. They don't care. These are sociopaths.
I take it farther. I don't even think they're human.
I've heard that.
I mean, like, honestly.
You mean the way they act, not that they're legitimately.
I don't know what those entities are, but like I've met. I don't know how many people I met in the world, but all over the world, all races, all nationalities, and I don't know anybody who's mentally correct, whatever that means, right?
Yeah, like we're all a little fucked up.
Yeah, we're all a little fucked up, but I don't know anyone who wants to just like wakes up in the morning is like, today I'm gonna go kill this person because he stole my newspaper or something.
Yeah,
like I mean, I'm sure
it's very rare.
It's rare it happens, but those people usually have some kind of issues. It's not like
it's not a regular human trait.
It's not a regular human trait. Yeah, but like to get up and it's like, oh, we're gonna limit Earth by 6 billion people. Like, what?
You're gonna kill 6 billion people?
6 people, right? What level of psychotic you got to be? Like, I don't know if any human is capable of doing this.
I don't know about capable of doing it, but Bill Gates has said similar things about reducing population and all that. And just putting that out there to me is psychotic. For you to think that because you started Microsoft Word, that you can now decide that certain people should be sterilized or poisoned or whatever your strategy is of reducing the population, to me is insane. I don't care how much money you have. You can't be the emperor that decides how many people should live and how many people should die.
Well, going back to our original conversation. when you said when we're talking about how things are similar between Soviet Union and Western world now, in my experience traveling and connecting Bill Gates into this, Bill Gates himself isn't going to come out and kill 6 billion people. He's going to, and let's say Bill Gates made this vaccine that's going to kill everyone, right?
I don't think he makes vaccines.
Well, whatever, invested money into a company.
Yeah, he
but
does
that's
that.
what I'm saying. So if he invests funds into companies, there's still some other people that carry out the bidding.
Yeah.
Right. So what I noticed as I was traveling west from Moscow, everything was all right. Up until I got to Halifax, I didn't have a direct flight to Montreal from London. I didn't get a chance to get that ticket. And as soon as you land in Halifax, it's like World War III, literally third world country. Like the airport decimated, empty. There's few stores, couple of restaurants open. I had a really bad delay. Like I was supposed to get on the plane right away, but I had a delay for like 6 hours. It's like, I haven't been in Halifax in 20 years. I'm going into Halifax, but I had some big carry-on bags, and I was in Russia for 5 months. I had lots
a
of
lot of luggage. Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'm gonna leave my luggage at the airport. They didn't have that service because of COVID. They had to close this, and start to notice little things. The mask. I know the mask will be done in a week in Montreal, and we're all happy about that. And
the fact that it stayed this long, and the most, dude, I cannot get over the fact that you can have the mask on, sit at a table. The second you sit on the table, now you take it off, like as if it's magic. It's becoming a religious symbol. We're insanely stupid.
Well, okay. So we know it's off next week.
Yeah.
Why can't you take it off today?
I said the same thing. I go, what is the week? What do you people do? And here, you saw me. I walk around. I know it's a show, so I'm not going to put it on. But there are some people that still believe, no, until the 14th, it's not safe. But then why would it be safe after the 14th? They're not asking the right questions. They just accept, and then they question when things aren't going well. Like, why isn't shit working? Because you keep saying yes to stupid shit. That's why nothing's working.
Well, also, that's what brings the Soviet Union. Who enforced those things? Like, who's enforcing the mask in the store? It's not the police.
No, it's the people.
It's not Lego. It's
You're doing it to yourself, yeah.
You're doing it to yourself. So I literally don't put mask on because I lived the last 6 months of my life with no mask on. I even flew with no mask on until you got to the Canadian Airlines. Then they make it. By the way, flying there on Air Canada, I fell asleep and my mask slipped underneath my nose. I was passed out. It was a night flight. The flight attendant woke me up to lift my mask on. Kid you not.
So you're in the same fuselage, God damn. What's up, Poseidon?
Bro, I'm sorry. If somebody woke me up just to put the mask over my nose, I'm getting arrested.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I'm throwing hands. Someone's getting hurt.
Jesus
and it
Christ.
ain't me.
All right, calm down, Poseidon.
That is the secret.
You're a flight risk.
He is the secret.
We're not
weapon.
taking you to Atlanta with us.
Well, there's no masks on the flights now in U.S.
Yeah,
Thank
at
God.
least.
Fly American Airlines, whatever they are.
I understand we took some measures when we didn't know what was going on. I'm all for that because I'm the first to admit I was very scared in the beginning when this first started because I didn't know what was going on.
I think I was the first one to put a mask on because I was like, I don't know what's this about.
But I feel like if we're using our brains a little bit, we're human beings, we have to be willing to adapt and learn the situation, right? So I know, for example, now, let's say fire, right? I know what to do in case of a fire. I'll get the fire extinguisher. Mm-hmm. That's going to be in case of a fire. If he says, fuck, I have a headache, I can't be like, I'll get the fire extinguisher. That's insane. We know that that's not what this is for. Use it for what it's for. So right now, when we know how this works, and also we're in the same fucking fuselage, you take it down to eat. This is all nonsense. We have to stop with the charade. Why? It's not helping anything. It's just making this psychosis be prolonged.
Well, okay, so going back into the Soviet Union thing, right? And how it worked then. It's the people themselves that enforced the party line, right? So and also things were destroyed, like family unit, for example, as a kid growing up, before I became a pioneer, which is the pre-communist thing. You join, sort of Boy Scouts, communist Boy Scouts,
okay.
Right? And everybody had to join because if you didn't join, you're frowned upon because you're a bad student, you're a bad pupil. You cannot. How dare you?
Why aren't you part of the crew?
You're shame for your parents. You're shame for your country. It's horrible.
Interesting,
right? So we were taught stories like Pavlik Morozov. Pavlik Morozov was a guy who told to the commissars on his dad for being a bad communist, whatever he did, that type of thing. And
what a rat.
those people, those kids were elevated, and this is, you should look up to that.
That's what they're doing now in the
That's what
States.
they're doing right now in China. They're destroying the family. The state is your priority, and not your family.
Not your family.
Not
Yeah.
your family.
They're doing it in the U.S.
They're
too.
doing it in the U.S. and I don't know what's the story in Canada really.
Oh, Canada, they started doing it a while ago. I think Quebec might end up, in the end, being the last man standing. I think the rebellious nature of Quebecers might tune in at some point and be like, you know what, fuck off. Like, let us live. I think that's what might happen. They might push them too much, and it might be the Quebecers that revolt.
Do you think it's going to happen the same way like right now, Russia-Ukraine conflict, that Quebec actually will eventually...
No, I don't think it's going to be violent. It's not in the nature of the people here. It's not their first instinct. I don't think it's going to be violent. I do think that culturally, though, something's going to shift. People are going to get fed up. And I know that Trudeau came out and said, Quebec will never separate. It's never going to happen. Stop talking about it. I wouldn't say that either, because borders change all the time. Quebec has more of a case than a lot of the new countries that have new borders in the last 20 years. Quebec makes a much stronger case than most of them. So I wouldn't be so quick to say stuff like that. I wouldn't, especially to a place that has its own culture, its own natural resources. I think saying stuff like that will cause more people to get angry and get up and try to make more separatist movements.
You don't think that would be the West, like the Wexit, the Alberta and all those?
Them too. I think Alberta has a case. If they wanted to, they could. I just think that culturally they're way closer to the rest of Canada than Quebec is. So I think Quebec has that down pack. Like, and also we have everything here. There's natural resources. We're a port. We're going to be a port
Seaport,
nation,
yeah.
dude.
And we'll block all the way to that was actually, you've seen Quebecit, right? We did
Yeah.
the pilot, right? The idea there was that Putin we were ahead of time. We were
Yeah.
like Georgia Guidestones.
yeah, of humor, yeah.
So me, Mike Patterson, I'm plugging Quebecit. So me, Mike Patterson came up with this pilot. I think we did it for, was it Just for? It might have been in Just for Laughs. I think we did it for Just for Laughs, one of the, few years back. And the idea was that the Putin came down and he installed his people and into power through wrestling. So we use wrestling as a political tool because wrestling is real/fake, and both parties owned by the same manager. They get paid, but for the show purposes, we get. And that's how I see the world.
Yeah.
That's how I see the world, quite literally. So the idea was the premise of Quebecit is that the Putin installs somebody to separate Quebec from
The rest of
Canada,
Canada, yeah.
so and connect Quebec through North Pole to Russia, build a pipe, build a gas pipe into United States, and sell gas into United States, and then charge like Canadians all the enormous amounts of money for the seaports and all that sort of stuff. So technically, that's what's going on in Ukraine right now, right? But I think like what you're saying is it's interesting because aren't we like for globalism for the past how many years we've been taught to globalism is a good idea, we should all
I don't like globalism.
No, I don't either, but
Do you know why I don't like globalism? I love the ability to go and see everywhere. I want to know everyone's culture. I want to experience it. I'm very excited about that stuff. What I don't like is I find globalization, the way it's working, is it's having the opposite effect. You're destroying other cultures. You're like, no, this is the new global culture. If I go to India, let's say, for example, I want to experience India. I want to see Indians. I want to know about that. I don't want to go there to have a Big Mac and to have them try to adapt to me. That's no, we need different cultures. You need different points of view. That's what makes everything beautiful. If I go to Russia, I want to see Russians. I want it to be Russian. I'm not going to go to Russia so I can experience
you can get McDonald's in Russia.
Manitoba.
Well, now it's a bit harder to get McDonald's, but
they make people second guess their culture. They make people think oh, I shouldn't be proud of what I am because I should fall into this. No, you should be proud of what you are. There's people died. There's thousands of years of history. Some countries hundreds of years. They're younger.
So you're the Putin supporter because that's quite literally that's his argument.
What's his argument? He hates
what you just said.
He hates globalization.
Exactly.
I'm all for hating globalization.
It's exactly what.
But I'm very anti-war, though. I don't like war at all.
No. Well, like I said, when we talk about under normal circumstances, nobody wants war.
I've been indoctrinated by Hideo Kojima when I was in my formative high school years playing Metal Gear Solid, And I'm very, very much against nuclear weapons. I'm very much anti-war. I don't think war solves what the leaders always say it solves, because I don't think I have the power to take one life. I don't think I have the power. It's different self-defense, but I don't think I have the power to be like, you know what? I fucking like Alex's jacket. Fuck, it's going to be my jacket. I don't like people having... That's why I'm against capital punishment. Same thing. I don't feel like the second you give people that type of authority that they could choose to end a life, we have all kinds of problems. So I'd rather go to the negotiating table. Let's figure out how we can coexist, how we can... I do not like violence. I don't like that at all. So because of that, I guess I don't fall in line with Putin. But I'm against globalization because I want there to be differences. I want cultural differences. I think we should celebrate that. You should celebrate who you are. I shouldn't have to make you like me.
The way Putin projects his image to the people as well as the movement, the way...
I don't like conformity, basically.
The way Putin is right now uniting the country is on the message saying basically what you just said, saying that the other side is evil and not Ukraine. And whatever the other side is, and they're saying that they're using Ukrainian people and we're there to liberate Ukraine.
I didn't say any of this, but...
No, you didn't say... You insinuated.
No, I don't know who's... I'm just saying I don't find that war is the answer. I find that the people who benefit from war are never going to be the people that are fighting it. No. So like Greece and Turkey, for example. Yeah. Long history.
Cyprus.
They still have... North Cyprus is still occupied. No one ever talks about that. However, even though I would love for us to have our real capital, which is Constantinople. Mm-hmm. The Turks call it Istanbul. Mm-hmm. I can't even though I would love for that to be our capital as it should be, I cannot justify a war right now. You know why? Because even if we'd get it back, let's say we'd get it back right now via war, the people that would die would be regular people, regular soldiers, Greeks, Turks, the guys that just want to live their lives that had nothing to do with what happened years ago. And they would be the ones suffering. Those families, I can't, just because I want something I can't justify. The ends don't justify the means. It's weird for me. I can't do that. I can't.
Why are we divided? To my original premise, why are we divided into tribes? Because
tribes are not a bad thing. You need to protect yourself. You need to you need to coexist with people. Tribes are not the bad thing. The bad thing is that right now we've moved past sticks and stones, so we could embrace our differences, or we could go backwards and get violent about our differences. Conformity doesn't help anyone because it's impossible for everyone to fully conform. You're always going to have differences. For example, I'm straight. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't it be insane if I go to gay people and be like, you got to be straight because I'm straight? It's insane. That's what a crazy person would say. Mm-hmm. No, you don't have to conform. You have to be you. Embrace what you are and you coexist with everyone. Make it work for everyone. You can't just force your way on. It's a fucked up way to live. It's a fucked up way to think. That's why I don't like what the government is doing here. That forced conformity. If you don't conform, you're the enemy. And that's what leads people to justify wars because they think, well, these people are not conforming. They're different. Of course we have to go to war.
But also government is not the one who's leading, right? So it's like the Boris Johnson example, right? You conform to my message, but I'm not going to. What kind of messed up stuff is this? So
which makes it worse. That's how you know that they know that it's nonsense, but they know that people are dumb enough to buy into it.
Or scared enough. Well, it's like children, right? Like they treat us like children, quite literally. And to child example, if a child sits there with the, you sit there with the phone. Where's my phone? Where'd I put my phone? You sit there with the phone all day long. You play a game, you're scrolling for news, social medias, etc. And then my daughter comes home from school, and she has some homework to do, and my daughter has her gadgets. She's civilized.
Yeah.
Well, it's a different subject. We can get back to it, but I still want her to be disciplined about that. And because she's actually exposed to that, I know some kids, parents, no, they can't. This is the devil. You can't. It's going to destroy. But it's
but the problem is, then your kid's going to be the idiot that doesn't understand how everything works.
Or not even that. It's when those kids are exposed to that, to them it's like a black hole. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe what to do. My daughter doesn't have this kind of wonder about this. She plays with it when she plays with it, and it's like, put it down, go do your homework. She does. But there's discipline involved. But if I tell her to put it down, why you continuously playing with your phone while I'm playing with my phone continuously?
Yeah, then she's like, well, isn't that what we're doing?
She's not listening to my words. She's learning from my behavior.
Yeah.
So like that's what I'm saying. If the government tells us one thing, but they do completely opposite, like this, that disconnect there, where's the learned behavior there?
You think that's? I'll tell you what shocks me. So we know the government, they do this. They say one thing, do something else. Trudeau did the same thing. He had his parties with his, while they told everyone you can't go visit your family. What I find shocking are the people that defend that. They're so brainwashed. They go, no, it's fine for him. We need to adhere to what he's saying. He doesn't need to. That shocks me because I'm like, okay, if we're dealing with robots, if people are acting like robots now, then there's no way to win. Because I thought the victory would be the people getting together. If the people can't get together because some people still need a leader, they still need someone to tell them what to do, then there's no way we're going to the future in the right direction.
Well, that's why that individuality is like that critical thinking is taken away from you.
Yeah.
You need to think like the rest of us. And
I hate that.
Well, that's communism. That's how I grew up. Right? That's what I'm trying to tell you. Canada is way more communist now, in my experience, than Soviet Union was before it fell. That's the scary part. That's what scares me. This is my home. I lived here for 30 years on and off. Like I lived in the United States for 15 years. I went to school. I got to work there a little bit. And I'm a North American child. I spent 3/4 of my life, 3/4 of my life here in North America. I'm a North American. I have an accent, but you know, who doesn't?
Who doesn't have an accent? He has an accent.
Who doesn't? But I consider myself not just my French is horrible, but I consider myself a Quebecer. Right? This is me, right? And it scares me here because I see the downfall. And like I said, I can compare like the 30 years that have passed, and I just came to Moscow, and Moscow is ravaged by war, and the gas is 50 cents a liter there, and it's $2 here. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense to me. And of course, we'll make excuses. It's the COVID. It's this. It's that. And it's. But I do not. I feel like the Western world is being destroyed intentionally now, as the Russia was by Soviet Union and communism and all that stuff. So like the same pattern, the same game is applied here. And we just pawns. Like when you play chess, we just, you're the first one to go.
Yeah.
And the queen and the king, they usually don't die in the game at all. You try to protect them at all costs. Why? Right? Like even the games that we play, like chess, is kind of that. So I think everything that the whole world is designed for us to be divided, to bicker with each other, to find another case, mask, no mask, vaccine, no vaccine.
Swiss, not Swiss.
Yeah, French versus English, Poseidon versus nuclear weapon, that kind of thing. So we have this kind of divide thing that we focus on, versus like, and okay, I'm going to get philosophical. Why all this? Like, what's the purpose of all of this? It doesn't matter what your spiritual, or philosophical or cultural background. What's the purpose of me being here on Earth?
Look, I can't answer that, but what I will tell you is oftentimes what I think about, and not religious or just, no matter what you believe in or what happens, because I don't know what happens when you die. But what I do know is that none of us are making it out of this alive. No matter what. You could fight as much as you want. You're never going to come out of this alive. Present company included, obviously. So because we're here for such a limited amount of time, you could enjoy yourself. That's what shocks me about us still having wars and killing people, murder, rape. That's what shocks me. It's like you could make it better for someone else. You can make it better for yourself too. And no, you can't run away from it. You're going to die at some point. So at least let's enjoy this. It's limited. Why end it early?
And you can't even take all of that stuff with you.
None of the shit you buy, you're going to take with you.
No.
Someone's going to inherit my studio.
You have kids?
No, not yet.
Are you planning?
Yeah, I want to have some, maybe adopt some. If I have the economic means, I'd like to adopt a couple from like a third world country.
Are you going to adopt Poseidon?
He's technically, I've adopted you.
I'm unadoptable.
I've unofficially adopted him.
Shit everywhere, bro. It's terrible.
Stop. I'm his adopted father. Am I not?
Adopted older brother.
He doesn't want to say that. Yeah.
It's weird.
I'm your
weird,
daddy.
Hey.
No,
because it's incestual.
I want to have kids, and I would like to adopt some too.
But and nowadays, right? It's they make it feel like it's so scary to bring kids into the world.
Yeah, but no, I want to do it. I want to.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Don't listen.
Yeah.
Do your thing. Do your
Yeah,
thing.
I am scared. Obviously, I see it's fucked up, but I want to do it, and also I want to adopt because there's a like if you look into it, there's a lot of kids around the world. That's all they're missing is they just love like they're for one reason or another. It could be war, it could be their parents died, something. You know, they're orphans, and that's literally what they're missing. They're human beings. They're kids. They have so much potential, and they're just missing enough people to be able to take them in, to adopt them, and give them that life. And then it's your kid. That's your kid.
But the government makes it almost impossible to do so.
So this is why I'm saying in the future I want to be economically sound and stuff to be able to circumvent a lot of this. Because I have a buddy who's adopted 2 kids now, and it's from him that I know how difficult they make it to adopt kids, which always shocks the shit out of me. It's like, there's kids out there right now.
And it's challenging, it's much easier to go, let's say, well, you can, okay, I don't think Westerners can adopt Russian kids now. For some time, they haven't been able to. But let's say if you want to get a kid from Iraq,
You should be able to.
it's 10 times easier to adopt a kid from Iraq than from Quebec.
So explain that to me.
I don't know. I don't know.
So I don't care where the kid is from. I don't care if he's from Quebec, Sri Lanka, or whatever. I just want kids that need it, I like to adopt. But why? You should make it simpler so that here you start lowering the case of like orphan children because they're adoptable. You know what I mean? And they stay within the community, the culture that they're used to. And then we start looking elsewhere and the second you put these weird barriers in where you can't adopt a kid from here, but you could get one from China.
You know the story with your friend there, right? With the whole protective child thing services, how it's like basically a racket.
Oh, it's a
Right. So
it's a racket and a half, dude. It's a mafia.
That's a mafia. So that's to answer your question, right? Somebody has to make money because they got to get all those tests and services involved and all that stuff.
Huge payments.
Huge payments.
Yeah.
Yeah. It costs arm and a leg to adopt a kid. It's easier to like literally like.
Wouldn't you like me to spend that money on this kid instead of you? And they're like, no. Give us the money.
Give me the money.
Yeah.
Give me the money. No, it's a lot of injustice that I see in the world. But I'm going to do like a spiritual, not necessarily religious thing, but also what you see is the values are being destroyed, where we're focused on the values are that outside of some don't like. So we talked about how like you don't want to kill anyone, you don't even want to hurt anyone, you don't want to steal, you don't want to covet their wife, So I'm talking about 10 Commandments, for example.
But this only applies to everyone who's not Swiss, by the way. I still maintain my rivalry with my nemesis, the Swiss. All of them.
Is it because of cheese?
No, it's just a running joke that we have on the podcast where I always shit on the Swiss for I blame them for everything.
And that's probably, you have a reason. I'll stick with that.
Yeah.
But the idea is like, okay, so if you're not religious and you didn't go to church, your parents didn't go to church, somehow you still know it's not a good idea to
kill people.
Kill. But where does it come from? Like if you talk about theory of evolution and we came from the cave, like tribes that we talked about, okay, we got to protect us, kill or be killed. Like, so it's either from the wild animals, we started a fire, we got the cave, so I'm going to protect the wives and the kids and all that stuff. Yeah. And then maybe another tribe comes in because they see that we're becoming really successful. They want to come in and take our stuff. So you want to protect yourself from the tribe. But, if we came from that and we bring murder from that, where did we learn that it's not good to do so? There's got to be something that we'll learn from.
Well, I think it comes from, so you know how we became more empathetic, we started understanding people, like say different cultures and stuff. I think it comes from empathy because the way I see it is I think of myself. I would not like to get killed and to have my life end, and then the people that I take care of, the people that depend on me, they lose that.
But it's
so I don't want to do it to you because then not just do I end your life cycle, so you can't achieve stuff that you would have achieved, all your goals, your dreams die with you, but also the people that depend on you. Now your family loses out on you. I wouldn't like that to happen to me, so I don't want to do it to you. That's personally. So I would think that that's what it is with everyone, that it's just we've learned a more empathetic behavior, and you're like, man, I don't want to go to war with these, like, I don't know these people. Why do I want, like a lot of soldiers when they were going to Iraq, they were saying that, like, I don't know these fucking people. I don't want to shoot them. They didn't do anything to me. They're in another, like, I don't know who the fuck these people are, especially since we found out that the Saudis were funding the hijackers, and, you're like, what the fuck do these people have to do with it?
If Saudis were.
If.
I don't know. Do you know?
I just know what they tell me.
Well, exactly. So, example with this, like 20 years ago it happened. A little bit over now, right?
Yeah.
And the story is already like this, right? We already don't know. We really don't know what happened. But I can tell you, I know Building 7 didn't get hit by a plane.
I know that too, and yet it still collapsed the same way.
But it still collapsed the same way.
Interesting.
Right? It's interesting. It's interesting. And like, if you just have to look into conspiracy theory for yourself, like 9/11, Building 7, just look into that. That's it. And you're like,
Oh, that's how you fall into a wormhole.
and then you just like start digging. Just
You know, the problem is, look, whether you want to say it or not, it's 100% suspicious. You could make up whatever excuse you want. It's super suspicious. However, the problem with looking into it, you can't stop there. So you have two choices. One, you have to start denying everything. Close your eyes, say, this is too crazy. Or you fall into it, and now you start going into every conspiracy theory, and then you actually become crazy because there's a lot of crazy shit out there. So you know what I'm talking about, son. You can fall in a wormhole. It's
But all is fake.
Yeah,
All is fake.
all is fake.
The only thing is real right now is this room.
yeah.
And 4 people that's sitting here in this conversation. That's the only thing is real. Like, even based on the example that you said earlier, we just know what happened. Like with the whole idea with the last lockdown and the curfew.
Yeah.
They just gave you the blank piece of paper and said, "This is why we did it."
Yeah,
with nothing on it.
yeah.
With nothing on it. There's
Redacted.
Redacted. There's no transparency in anything. So even though like this,
It should be justified. You should be able to tell me why.
Yeah, why you did it.
Yeah.
And
Why you broke the law? Because that's breaking the law. I have freedom. I have rights that you took away from me.
Yeah, the freedom isn't granted by a government. It's your natural right.
There you go. But the government can take it away, which is where this weird stipulation is, and that's why I think people should be fighting for their freedom a lot more. You're giving the power to someone else. You're giving your neighbor the ability to come over, lock you in. Why would you give that ability to someone?
You see what they're doing in China? They just basically
They're physically
locking them down.
Yeah.
People jumping off, killing themselves. By the way, this is true.
I saw when they were killing the animals. That's why I got really pissed. The dogs. If you were infected with COVID, you saw those videos.
Yeah, they were killing your dog.
They were killing
not even if you infected. They just collected all the pets and killed them, regardless.
as a punishment because it was the cases were rising, which is insane.
Sad story. I'm not gonna.
What's up, Hassan?
You know why I think some people give away their freedom willingly? Let's say we take the farm, for example. The sheep doesn't have the claws or the fangs to defend itself.
They rely on the. Were you reading Animal Farm?
I started reading
That's one of my favorite books.
Yeah, me
Let's
too.
discuss
I
it.
started reading.
I read it to my dog because I wanted her to know what's up. I wanted her to know what's. I swear to God, we read it to her. Yeah. She was looking at the whole time, little spirits. I go, you got to know what's out there. My kid right now.
Yeah, because you're protecting it.
I'm a good dad. Yeah.
You know, so like as a sheep, let's say,
Yeah.
you're like, fuck, bro. If I walk out there, I'm dead in like 30 minutes. You know, whereas opposed to, you know what, I could live like 30 days. I don't know, 30 years, still live a okay life. You feel me? You feel?
Here's the thing. People will say, well, if you care so much, why don't you go into politics and change things? It is so difficult to change things. Even United States of America presidents weren't able to do it. Fucking JFK did all kinds of shit. He was banging models. He was fine. As soon as he passed an executive order to basically get rid of the Federal Reserve and use silver as the standard for their economy, he was shot in the head. So there are clearly people that you cannot fuck with regardless of the position that you hold in society. So already there you see that it's not as simple as running for an election and going, you need everyone to get together at the same time and be like, we don't accept this.
Which brings to original premise. If you're gonna the now legacy media and all the politicians saying now it's a popular word, it's Putin's fault.
Yeah.
Putin is in the same category as the rest of those politicians. He's not some magical figure that runs Russia solely by himself. It's still
all kinds of people around.
All kinds of
oligarchs,
and who knows who's behind oligarchs and all this other stuff. Like I said, they still, even with the war efforts of World War III, like face it, it's definitely a global war. This is not a Russia against Ukraine, 100%. Like if you still think it's Russia against Ukraine,
we're still paying $2 at the pump right now. Yeah, we're all. Yeah.
But Russians selling gas to the animals. Animals. Yeah, to
Animal
the enemies. And the crazy part is, this is the crazy part. You know what Russians complain about now? The infrastructure that we have to sell, the pipelines to sell natural gas into Western world is way more developed than the infrastructure that we have internally. So a lot of jurisdictions in the country don't have access to the natural gas. And the thing is, like, the excuse is like, well, we can't stop selling gas because there's no way to store it. Either we sell it and get money for it, or we just
waste it.
or we just let it expire, right? So we just waste it. So the idea is like, so you spend billions of dollars building pipes into Germany, but you couldn't spend millions of dollars building local pipes into local jurisdictions.
And instead of wasting, you give it to people for free. Poseidon?
Well, that's another point, right? But again, like, as long as we kind of live in this world where we build illusions where this person controls this, and like we build those, you give away your power, basically, right? You give away your agency, you give away your freedom, you give away your free will to some higher power, and continue to be divided by choice. Like, I'll give you a good example. I didn't know what racism was. Like, I don't believe.
Oh, I'm gonna teach you.
No, I know. Please teach me. But I know now. But I didn't know what racism was till I came to North America, and it's like, well, you're Russian, but it's exactly that. Like,
Because there, everyone was the same.
Well, communism, right? It's diversity. That was one of the things that was like, we all the same.
Yeah,
We all the
diversity
same.
doesn't exist. You can't be diverse.
So I'll give you an example. Like, when I was watching Lethal Weapon, as soon as I came to Canada, I went to school in the United States to play basketball, obvious reasons. And
You're black.
It's exactly that. And the only white person on the team was always a coach, right? And I started making friends, and they're like, what movies do you like? I was like, oh, I love Lethal Weapon. He's like, oh, who's your favorite actor? I was like, not Mel Gibson, the other guy. He's like, the other guy, you mean the black guy? And it literally didn't register in my brain that the other actor was black till I watched it again. I was like, yeah, you're right, he was black.
In your head, they were just all Americans.
Well, it didn't matter. Like, I didn't perceive the differences. I knew there was a taller guy, but I didn't perceive the difference in color.
What do you mean?
I didn't notice color. That's what separates us. Now, since I live in North America, now, like, I was like, oh, the Asian guy, the black guy.
So before, what separated you in your mind was more like there's the Soviets and there's everyone else, like the West. Like, you saw them as Westerners.
No, even then, like, maybe I'm different. Maybe I didn't have this thing. Like, it was always like kind of, I think the divide felt always more in North America for me. Like, even when I came to U.S. and I really had a good time going to school in the United States. I went to school outside of Philadelphia in Delaware County, Cardinal O'Hara, Catholic League. And it was an amazing experience. The people were so kind and so tentative. But every time we would get in some kind of friendly argument, they'll be like, who won the Cold War? Like, shut up, basically. don't say anything. And when I would play basketball, and we had a really good team, it was a very competitive league. And like, to me, it was a unique experience because on the high school level, you get like 10,000 people in the stadium, right? Like, it's insane, right? On the high school level. And you get to play, and you get like to the foul line to shoot free throws, and you get the whole gym chanting USA, USA. That was so cool. That was actually like, I would feed off that energy.
Yeah, obviously, that's amazing.
And I felt proud to be in that environment. Like, I knew what they were doing is just whatever. It's like they cheering, it's a game, it's sports. Like, now we made sports political, Russians are banned everywhere. But at the time, I thought it was like a really cool thing. Like, I didn't feel like an enemy, but on athletic terms, I was. Nowadays, you cannot do that. That's insensitive. You cannot cheer USA. But to me, it was always puzzling when I went back into the question, like, who actually won the Cold War? Like, to me, Cold War was the West against communism. Okay, so Soviet Union fell, but then we built a Walmart in every city, right? And China is basically 90%, 90% of China is in Walmart, if not more at this point. And China is the biggest communist power in the world, like one of the great economies. I think maybe number one economy at this point. So who actually won the Cold War? Like, how's the history? Just because somebody tells you, again, going back to conversation, somebody tells you one thing and you believe in it because you trust the source. Yeah,
you make a very good point because, and also here we conflate the differences, like, oh, we're not communists, there's socialism. And so people are, they argue semantics, but they don't see, and I've mentioned that too. I go, well, the Cold War was supposed to be won by the West. It was supposed to be for freedom and everyone's got liberty. And then communism is leading the charge in the world right now. We get all our products for capitalism from communism. we exploit slavery, communist slaves in China, in order for us to live a capitalist life, which I'm all for capitalism, but I mean, we should be willing to take the hit and build shit here and not have to exploit communists and have them exploit us too, because they're exploiting their own people for economic gain.
But they talked
China
about
China has changed industrial levels, I think, twice in the last 20, 30 years. They're way ahead of everyone else now, the way they're building. Over what? I thought communism was, which I believe communism is wrong. I hate communism. But then why are we so hand in hand with them and allowing them to dictate terms for everyone on the planet?
Because all those things that you're listing and I'm talking about are just the tools to divide us and to make us believe that one party, like it's Democrat versus Republican, liberal versus conservative.
But really, it's everyone versus communism.
Well, that's why you should watch Quebexit, right? I'm continuing to push this. No, it's literally that. It's both parties run by the same interest, which is not yours and mine. You know what I mean? Like
ironically,
right? And I felt strongly about, like, at one point in my life, maybe I should run for politics. But then you understand, like, you would have to blow somebody like multiple times and maybe even literally.
Yeah, or they just won't. They'll do everything in their power. They'll make stuff up. If they can't find any real dirt that will change people's minds, they'll just make stuff up. And especially now with deep fakes and all that, have fun arguing your whole life that that's not real, or there's too much at stake for them to not fight against you. Because you're talking about, there's people that have embezzled funds. There's people that have done some crazy sex shit. There's too much at stake for them to just sit back and let you take over. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, I don't want to end up on Hillary's suicide list.
There you go. You need, the only way, I'm telling you, the only way is it has to be a collective movement, is if everybody decides, no. If police officers say, no, that, I'm not enforcing that. That's crazy. We're all not enforcing that. That's absurd. If, same thing, doctors, nurses, city workers, everything, no. This is what we're playing with. We're ignoring you. You're one guy who said this. Well, we're not adhering to it. So fucking enforce it some other way.
Same thing at war, right? Like, if both sides of a conflict just say,
we're not fighting.
I don't want to kill my brother.
Yeah. Have fun. How are you going to do it now?
But that's going back to the thing. Who's enforcing?
It's always the same people doing it.
But it's us. We playing alone. They told us to wear a mask. We happily put it on. They told us to get a shot. We happily put it on. They told us to do something else. We happily did it.
Well, we have that trust. So let's say with the shot, right? Before, like, the Pfizer documents came out and this and that, we were told the opposite. We were told about how safe it was and how, no, nothing's going to go wrong, and how effective it is.
Well, if you listen to Justin, that's still the same story.
Even though the actual documents themselves say the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Even though the stats now say the complete opposite, they're still regurgitating that. So people didn't do it because they're stupid. People did it because we thought, oh, the government, why would they lie to us? We voted for this guy. He's looking out for our interests.
Also, they didn't do it. A lot of people who did it, even if they had a doubt, they didn't do it for the health reasons. They did it for job reasons.
Yeah.
Job security, travel. I don't know, other things, life.
Peer pressure.
Going to a bar.
Yeah.
You know, those kind of things. It wasn't like, even the people that made a choice to get a vaccine, they didn't get it. You know, a lot of my friends in movie industry, they had to get it because movie industry was the worst with that in terms of, like, you don't have a shot, you can't work.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people in movie industry rely on any kind of job. Like, sometimes you work for like 3 months and then you don't work for 2 years, right? Like,
crazy.
so every job counts. And like, when you're in the position, like, well, do I take this job or do I, you know, so I need the shot. You can't go around it. And
I don't like, that's coercion.
That's coercion. But that's what I mean. So, like, there's no freedom. And then they'll be like, well, you don't like, you must not like your grandmother.
Yeah, that's a weird argument to make, because you could still catch it. You could still give it. None of what you're saying makes any sense.
Make any sense, right? And but
it's supposed to be for you.
But
it's
like
supposed
you
to be
said,
for you.
2 years ago, that wasn't the information that was available, and I think that's why people went along with it more readily, because they were scared. They were genuinely scared, and the fear got exploited. Just the same way the fear is being exploited now between Russia and Ukraine, on both sides. On both sides, like, to say, like, I'm not here to defend Putin by any means, and not here to defend the conflict by any means. But I'm gonna also tell you that people on the Russian side, like, in my experience, that I met people, they're not like, okay, let's go kill Ukrainians. It's like nobody wants to war.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to war. But it's being exploited by people. I remember playing basketball when Iraq thing happened. It was Afghanistan first because I was still in college. And when it was March Madness, and I remember that's when the Americans announced they're going into Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And I had we like between the games, we like Cinderella story. So I'm all into I'm about to go get tested for drugs. When was the last time I smoked?
Yeah, you're a
weed?
giant. Yeah, they're gonna test you for everything.
Yeah, those are the kind of things
Soviet
I was thinking
steroids.
about.
Yeah.
So they come in to take interview from me, and I'm thinking it's like, oh, I had a good game, and this guy asking me my war affiliation, being Russian, and since U.S. is going into Afghanistan, how do I feel about that?
Are you happy the Afghanis are finally getting where you guys couldn't give them
Well, basically,
an ass whooping?
I'm like, and that was like a major news outlet. It might have been like, I don't know. I don't remember what was the newspaper, but it was
What the fuck does your
like
opinion?
New York Times. Like, what
Yeah.
the college kid playing basketball? Like, I'm literally, I know I'm 21 or whatever. It's like I'm not really a kid, but I am a kid at 21 years old playing basketball in college. You're still kind of a kid. I may have some life experience, but what the fuck do I have to say about war in Afghanistan?
Yeah.
Why would my opinion matter just because I'm Russian kid playing basketball?
Because the Russians fought the Afghanis.
Yeah, well, but why me? Like, how does it? And it like made the headlines and everything, whatever. And I don't even
What did
remember.
you say?
War is bad.
Good.
Like
Good. I support that statement.
not maybe. I don't remember specific words, but that's what I was saying. It's like I don't support the war. Like war is bad. People are gonna die. I remember saying that, and I remember that
I don't support the war. Yeah.
and I remember the journalist wasn't happy. He kept asking me like the questions,
He wanted you to be like, I support.
to say like somehow like, well, maybe it's a good thing to go kill the terrorists, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, but that's not. It's difficult. Yeah.
Right. So like as a kid, like I knew right away. Even then, I felt like that wasn't kosher. That was like this is not right. And propaganda, and everything is manipulated this way nowadays. Even more so, like it's crazy. Like everybody's like Obama this, Obama that. The first thing Obama did, he signed the Propaganda Act. He allowed the legacy media to spew propaganda. It was no longer illegal. It's now becomes legal. So everything you see on TV, you gotta assume right away it's propaganda, because
Obama did this.
yeah,
I don't know about
that's the first act he signed. That's literally the first act he signed. Because
I didn't bring that up. I'm curious about that.
You didn't know. I think the first thing he signed is to sign his personal documents.
I knew about Geithner. I knew about all the people he had with him, and I knew what he was up to later. But I didn't know about this.
Yeah, he made that legal again to project propaganda on American people.
Fragile legacy of Barack Obama.
I don't
Type
know.
in
I don't know what to
type
look
in
for.
Obama Propaganda Act. It says here that he did not. He said U.S.
But it's Google and it's the first law. Of course they're going to.
Oh, yeah, go to the second one. Let me see this. Oh, they're gonna say he did and someone else did. Click on it. It's on the right.
So
U.S. repeals propaganda ban.
Okay, propaganda.
Also,
ban.
he repealed it. So spreads government made news to Americans. For decades, a so-called anti-propaganda law prevented the U.S. government's mammoth broadcasting arm from delivering programming to American audiences. So they got rid of that. Hold on, go back though. But did Obama do this?
When was this?
Go back to Google. I don't think. Go to the third one.
Yeah, 2013. That would be Obama then.
Yeah, that was Obama then, but it wouldn't be. He came in 2008, I think. Says President Barack Obama made it legal for the media to purposely lie. Okay. So they're trying to. No, what they say? He didn't make it go down. So
I see what you're doing.
yeah, the words. Yeah. So now it makes me think that he did. Yeah, I hate PolitiFact. Let's see. The post was flagged as part of Facebook's. No, go down. No, Obama didn't. What did he do? Go down. Poseidon, what are you doing?
Down.
Yeah. Let's break it down. First, Obama didn't quietly sign it. Oh, what is HR 310? That's it. Google that.
No, that was open. He didn't. He did it publicly.
The Smith-Modernization Act instead reversed restrictions on news program funded by the U.S. government. Oh, that's it. He did. Oh, fuck. That's amazing. It's the way they phrase it. Yeah, you were correct. Yeah.
For a second, I thought I was spreading fake news.
No, they could make it seem that way, but that's the problem I have here with Canada is that people forget about the CBC. They're like, we need the CBC is propaganda.
I hate the way they fucking frame shit so manipulative
Yeah.
because it makes it sound, they're fucking pricks.
Yeah, it's okay. That's what they do. What they gotta do. They gotta make their money.
Well,
But
look
yeah,
at
like
this.
CBC is 100% propaganda here. They can't say anything because they're getting funded by the current government.
Well, what's worse is that they actually get extra funding, right? And for them to get extra funding, they got to do the bidding. Mm-hmm. Of course, how can they talk about the mouth that the hand that feeds it?
Yeah.
So and it's the same thing goes for all government outlets. Like I don't know, what do you even read now that comes from some kind of legacy media? What do you read? Like, are you reading any newspapers from Montreal?
No, I make fun of them. And when I do, I know that, what's crazy is, I've said this before, I learned that journalists, when I was young, journalists were noble people going into wars, was trying to uncover the truth. As I got older, there was some stuff I was like, man, that seems more like opinion. You're not reporting the facts, right? But I didn't think about it too much. When I realized that there's legit fuckery was because of sensationalism, because of Mike Ward.
Mike Ward,
There were times when we were together. So there were times where I knew that the report was fake. I knew that the report, because I knew what they would say. I remember with Jeremy, there was stuff that they would write that was blatant lies, and I knew that it was blatant lies. I was like, why the fuck would they write that? That's untrue. That's skewed a certain way. They're playing with words. So when I saw that, that's when I stopped liking journalists. Is because of that, because I lived through it. I remember when we went on Rogan, I still say, they had a whole thing here where they were only talking about Mike Ward. Instead of saying, it's on Rogan, two Montreal comics, it was a big thing. He said the Hells Angels, all they talked about was that the Hells Angels were good people. It was like a 3-minute thing in a 2-hour podcast that we had said the story of Mike when he goes, the Hells Angels, they had, I think when they found out that he was getting death threats, they went and protected him, and he found out years later, like they put like 2 guys at the end of the street. And then he goes, like the cops too, like they have a brotherhood, like they have a code, cops do the same thing. They have a code and they take care of each other. People are not as bad as you think. And then he said, Mike Ward says the Hells Angels are good people, like the police do the same type of thing. They were just sensationalizing instead of, taking out of context. So I saw that they do that. That's what they do. They do that all the time. So I don't trust them. I try to, do my own research. I like to ask people, I like to bring people on. So let's say if they're saying this is happening in hospitals, I remember doing the numbers of COVID. What I would do is I would check in all the time. I know 3 people that work in hospitals, a doctor, a nurse. So I would call and ask. And then I would get a lot of times different answers to what the news was telling me. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Well, like even like percentage of nurses being ejaculated.
There's a high percentage,
Yeah, it's a high
of
percentage,
male
yeah.
nurses getting ejaculated.
So like percentage of nurses being like my friend, she's a nurse, and
Yeah.
she's like they would get to persuade him to get wax. They
Yeah.
would tell him this many nurses got waxed. You should
Yeah,
get
yeah.
2. And she's like, they would say like only 3% left. So
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
one of
yeah,
them. But she's like, on my floor alone, there's at least 30% of us that are not. So how are you gonna tell me that's 3% where I know physically that it's not? Like a good for the people. Like if I know there's so much information, you cannot trust any of
Yeah.
that. But I think my go-to guide, because comment sections are everywhere now, and this is where I don't
Yeah.
even read the article. I go straight to the comment section now to see
What people are
like,
thinking.
Well, not even that, to see if it's propaganda or if they're really putting out some kind of information out there.
Yeah.
Because if it's a propaganda source, there's no comment section.
Oh, at CBC, they do that. Yeah, they take out the
There's
comment
no comment
section.
section, or it's blocked. Or a YouTube video, or
Because they don't want you to say the contrary.
Yeah, they wanted to say the contrary or something like this, or like even though they can moderate the comments as well. And like I think Montreal Gazette, or also look by like, I don't even know how Montreal Gazette's still in business, because you would think like most of the comment sections open, but there'll be like 1-2 comments at most. And the whole newspaper, right? Like I'm talking about the electronic one though on the website. there's no interaction there. So who's reading that? How does it still function?
Yeah.
Well, the answer is it's being funded.
It's being funded, and maybe people who advertise on it aren't aware that it doesn't have the. Some people are not aware that regular, like legacy media, let's say newspapers or even TV, daytime TV here on regular cable, doesn't have the reach it does. I remember when they canceled breakfast television here, when they had given the number of viewers they would get, it was pathetic. You remember this, Poseidon? It was like 3,000 people. It was pathetic. There are podcasts that in the waiting room have more people when they're going live than weekly viewers of that show. It had zero pull, zero power. So I think when the numbers came out, people were like, well, we can't justify selling ads.
You can. And well, I think Rogan's podcast alone, like, combined the next 10 shows together, still don't reach his numbers.
Because people are tired. I've already said this, but people are tired of feeling like there's an agenda. You're trying to bullshit them. They want to have people talk, debate, share ideas, learn new things. I think people are just tired of getting spoon-fed nonsense.
You think people are a lot more open now than they were pre-COVID, like, pre 9/11, pre-COVID, like the COVID?
I think people are more open now to conspiracy theories, not in believing conspiracy. I think they're more open to the idea that there's fuckery afoot. I 100% believe that, because I know people who they had complete different opinions a year and a half ago about everything, about the vaccines, about what's happening. And then now, living through a lot of questionable stuff, they've changed. They're like, oh, fuck, that doesn't make any sense. I don't know why I don't know. So now they're questioning, like, well, what's the point of that? Why would they lie? Why would they do this? So I think more people are opening. I don't want people to fall into conspiracy theories, because then you go into a rabbit hole and you believe anything and you just become paranoid. And it doesn't help you to become paranoid. But I do think you need to be cautious and figure out that there's people out there whose agendas, the goal of their agenda is far more different than your goals in life. So let's say the government right now here, they're pushing for conformity so that they can stay in power, they can help their friends gain wealth. None of that benefits you. You're actually at the bottom of that. They need you to conform and get squashed down so that they can rise up. Clearly, you have two goals that are drastically different. So you can't allow them to dictate the terms, because they're going to go against you every time. If I'm playing against you basketball, I can't make a rule where, okay, look, since you're taller than me, every time you score, it's 2 points. If I score from within the key, it's 9. If you allow that to happen, you're fucking yourself over. Because believe me, I'm going to find a way to just get in there and score 9 pointers.
You just described my life on a dime. Like, I go to buy a car. I can't get a nice compact car because, it's good on gas. I just don't physically. Even if I fit in it, it's not a comfortable thing, and then nobody can sit behind me. I can't. It's not. And I gotta get like a truck, which is right now it's not economically feasible.
No,
it's not
and it's evil.
It kills the earth and everything, right? So the idea that the greatest evil on earth is still discrimination against tall people, and that's what I said.
That's what we're coming back to.
I'll give you. You want a conspiracy theory?
Yeah.
Okay. So I worked in New Zealand, right when everybody was on lockdown.
A goddamn orc.
Yes.
You should have played a tree.
I was not an orc, and I wasn't a tree. I'll tell you that much.
Okay.
But I cannot tell you more than that.
That's it. Okay.
But there was happy times. There was no COVID, no mask, no social distancing, everything open.
But New Zealand overdid it. They went full draconian.
I'm not going into that.
Yeah.
But New Zealand is better now than Canada. You can't fly out of New Zealand without being waxed. You cannot out of Canada.
Get the fuck out of here. So they went full draconian to, all right, let's back up. And then here we just kept...
Yes, a New Zealand accent. Yes. Right, so the idea is... So I worked for a corporation, Amazon. I can't talk nothing. I had a good time. But the moment Amazon leaves in New Zealand, that's when they implement COVID restrictions. COVID all of a sudden comes to New Zealand somehow, even though they were still on the same nothing changed. They're still on the same MIQ policy, like the 2 week, the 2 week quarantine at the hotel and all this other stuff. All of a sudden, somehow this new, Omicron or whatever comes
as soon as Amazon's out.
As soon as the Amazon's out. And where's the Amazon go? It goes to UK. As soon as it comes to UK,
The restrictions
UK
drop.
drops the restrictions.
Follow the money is what they told me.
Yeah.
All right, look, we're going to give people a chance to follow the money. Before we go, Alex, the links are all in the description, but where do you want them to follow you? Where are you more active online?
The answer is
Pick one. All your links are in there anyway,
yeah.
but
Let's
pick
do.
one.
Let's try Instagram.
Okay.
Let's do Instagram.
That's where the kids are at. That and
Yeah.
tickety-tockety.
Yeah, I was thinking about branching out into TikTok and but Instagram. I'm gonna continue to develop maybe my YouTube channel as well. But yeah, follow me on Instagram. I'm gonna post some interesting videos from my journey, 100%. And there's some cool announcements to come. I am involved in some productions that will be really funny.
Good.
And I'm in Montreal for a few weeks, so I'm gonna go do some stand up. Come see
People
me.
come see you, yeah.
Come see me to do stand up. I will put it on Instagram as well.
So look, Alex the Russian, thank you for coming. I'm very glad that you're anti-war. I'm very glad that you don't hate the Ukrainians. I'm very glad that you like the
I
peace.
love Ukrainian people. Ukrainian people, I love you. I love you so much. Whatever you're going through, I'm sorry you have to be in the middle of all this. And stay strong. We'll all get through that.
Nice.
We've built this prison cell 'cause we can't trust ourselves. Critically shamed and all our fate. We'll make a murder say that this is the American dream. You're gonna have to fight if you wanna believe. Speak it all away. My social insecurities crawl under my skin.